Okay, am I live? All right, I'm assuming I'm live. So welcome everyone to this Wired Sussex Meetup. Actually, the first Wired Sussex Meetup that we've ever held virtually, and the first Wired Sussex event that we've ever held on this platform, Hopin. So we're going for a double whammy here, and I hope you all enjoy it. Try out Hopin, explore a bit. It's got a number of different functions. You can listen to me, or you don't have to listen to me if you like. There are a number of booths. There's a booth for Hive, who are our sponsors tonight. Thank you very much, Hive. There's a Wired Sussex booth. There's a Fusebox booth. You can choose people to chat to network with. And I believe it's even got a random networking button somewhere, which enables you, which just pairs people together in a random way. So like I said, try it out, see what you think of it. It's not the same as being at Patton's with a beer. We understand that, but it's got some upsides as well. And we're really interested to get your feedback on it. What I want to do, and I'm here, by the way, at the Fusebox. So for those of you who don't know what the Fusebox is, it's our innovation hub. Usually it would be full of creative activity. It's been closed since the COVID-19 lockdown. So it's a little quiet at the moment. There's just me and Chris here, and some, unfortunately, malnourished plants. I don't know if you can see our dying plants here, but we're planning our reopening strategy at the moment, which is why Chris and I have spent the day here. And we hope to be opening ideally next month and bring the Fusebox back to life as a creative innovation space for Brighton companies. What I want to do now is really talk to you a bit about what's been happening since our last meetup in January. And obviously, a hell of a lot has happened since our last meetup. Since the COVID crisis hit and lockdown happened, it was absolutely clear to us that this was going to have an impact on our members, on the businesses and freelancers that we support. So we had to respond rapidly to a rapid situation. We had to respond with some immediate action. And the first thing we did back in late March now was set up a community Slack group. The idea of the Slack group was a place where people could go to find out information about government support, could discuss what they were doing, the challenges that they were facing, could flag up their needs, and often could post opportunities as well, either opportunities of free help or opportunities for subsidized support. And that's been incredibly successful, and it still is a great resource. So if you haven't signed up and used our Slack group, I'd really recommend that you do. It's not only helped digital businesses, we've seen digital businesses help other businesses, including the horticultural sector and others. We've seen digital businesses helping charities and community groups, and we've even had the NHS posting their needs on there and digital businesses helping. We ourselves have used some of the 3D equipment we've got at the Fusebox to print PPE for the NHS and for key workers. So the first thing we did was really provide a platform for our community to support our community, and it's been very, very successful. The second thing we did, merely days afterwards, was begin to survey our members. So we asked businesses, freelancers and shared workspaces to tell us how they were feeling pain and what the challenges that the lockdown and the impact of the lockdown was having on them and their business. We recognized that there was some real pain being felt and that we needed to impact nationally to support our local businesses. That's kind of different to the way that we generally work nationally, which is about raising the profile of our digital cluster, you know, helping clients, investment, talent, and great new businesses come to this region, and particularly the city of Brighton, and see it as a place to do great business. This was different. We needed to really focus on the government in a way that we'd never done in the past, and try and get them to bring forward rapidly and at scale the kind of support measures that would help our cluster see through this crisis, which clearly was not one of our own making. And one of the ways that we did that is to take an informal grouping that we've been working with for about 18 months called the UK Tech Clusters Group, and scale it. So UK Tech Clusters Group is really the primary tech clusters excluding London, because London has got its own avenues into government across the UK. So it's us, it's Manchester, it's Bristol, it's Newcastle, it's Cardiff, and it's others. By scaling UK TCG very, very rapidly, we were able to get the ear of government. We were seen as a credible ear of government. Also, actually, it helped us with the surveys because we could coordinate surveys. So we were asking the same questions in different clusters so we could compare and contrast. The Tech Cluster Group, of which we're an integral part, that had weekly dial-ins with the Minister for Digital. And we use those dial-ins to argue that there needs to be help for our businesses and our communities, and some of that help wasn't working. So the first thing that we did was argue, and this is one of the areas where we did have some impact, I think, is argue that digital freelancers needed some support. So I don't know if you remember back in the day, businesses were given support through the furlough scheme, but freelancers were left out. That changed fairly rapidly, and freelancers got some support through the government schemes. The second thing we did was argue that the loans that the government were asking banks to provide to businesses in trouble wouldn't work until they were 100% guaranteed by the government. And that became the bounce back loans, which are 100% guaranteed. So we had some impact there too, I think. And the third area where we've been arguing is around the importance of shared workspaces, co-working spaces in Brighton, like the Skiff, Platform 9, the Works, and others, are very important in the ecosystem, in the digital clusters ecosystem here, and they needed support as well. We're really pleased that Brighton Council adjusted some of the terms on their discretionary grant so that those who manage shared workspaces and co-working spaces, but also those who use them, were able to apply for discretionary grants in a way that many cities didn't allow. But as well as those positive impacts, we recognise that there were some misses. And the major one, I think, really is that many self-employed people were missed out of the government support. PAYE freelancers, the newly self-employed, limited company directors, all didn't receive the support that they should have. And in Brighton, that's particularly impactful because a greater proportion of our cluster is freelance than in many other cities around the country. What we've noticed recently is that there's been a shift in the way that the government is engaging with the economic challenges that COVID-19 has presented. They've shifted from providing support opportunities to focusing on reopening the economy as a preferred current method of supporting businesses and freelancers. What were the results of those surveys? Well, in a way, it enabled us to divide the businesses and freelancers in our cluster into 3 different groups. The first group was those that were heavily impacted, and they are really any digital business that has a relationship to the physical economy. So digital businesses that support performances, that support physical retail, that support tourism and the visitor economy, that support festivals, vacations, and the travel industry. They've been heavily impacted. Then we've got a group that haven't been particularly impacted, actually, and often they're pure digital businesses like games companies. So if you look at the Wired Sussex job site at the moment, you'll see that around 70 to 80% of the roles on there are for local games companies who are still recruiting heavily. And there are other companies that haven't been heavily impacted, and often those are companies, digital companies that are involved in connectivity or remote tech provision. Then there's a third group, and they're the group that we describe as the will be impacted group. And those are digital businesses, often they're digital agencies, that are okay at the moment because they're continuing to deliver current and uncancelled projects to clients. But they have a much reduced future pipeline of new clients, so that at some point down the line, they may be very challenged. And roughly those 3 groups, if you look at the 1,500 to 2,000 companies that we support across Sussex, roughly those groups, those 3 groups are divided by a third, a third, a third. So a third heavily impacted, a third not particularly impacted, and a third not impacted at the moment, but may be impacted. And that latter one, I think, is troubling because it's not being widely discussed. We're trying to raise that challenge up the agenda. And it's also troubling because those kind of agencies are often the backbone of every significant digital cluster, including ours. So, recognizing that the door was closing for additional packages of support that we were able to win in the early days of the COVID-19 lockdown, we've shifted our focus to engaging around what the route out of this crisis looks like. And next week, the Tech Cluster Group is running a Recovery Roadmap conference for ministers, mayors and leaders with a keynote speech from the DCMS Secretary of State, Oliver Dowden. And this event is about making the case for the centrality of digital clusters and those businesses within them in spearheading our economic and social recovery. And it's clear to us that the recovery needs to be as much social as it is economic. Our success in the Slack group was really to provide and empower a forum for the community to self-organize, and that's why it's worked. And we want to ensure that that community activity continues post-COVID as well. Through this all, of course, you know, we've been heavily challenged as a company ourselves, as an organisation ourselves. We don't get any money from the government purely for existing. You know, we are reliant on our membership dues and our residency fees from you, our members. And those, without those, we wouldn't be surviving. So thank you, every single one of you, for supporting us and helping us to continue to support you. We have seen some fantastic examples of community self-organisation during this crisis, and we need to retain those as we head into the next round of challenges. I hope you enjoy this evening and have some good conversations. And I also hope we can get back to a hybrid, really, I guess, of digital conversations and physical engagement. what I'd like to do now is hand over to Neville, who is from our sponsors. Without our sponsors tonight, we wouldn't have been able to put on this event. So we're really grateful to Hive, a great hosting company based locally. And Neville's going to now tell you a little bit more about what they do.
Hey, cool. Thank you, Phil, for the introduction, and also to Wired Sussex for holding this virtual event, really helping to bring people together during this crazy time that we're facing. So yeah, my name's Neville. I'm head of sales for Hive Managed Hosting, and we're proud to be sponsoring this event, as this is it's an event that we've been involved with for many years now. So we're very much looking forward to speaking to people after this stage and answer any questions that you might have in some of the networking areas and also the chat room. So just to give you a bit of background on Hive, so we're a managed cloud hosting provider based in Brighton. However, we have a global presence in many data centers across the world, and we specialize in providing mission critical cloud hosting. So what I mean by that is that we have superior SLAs against our uptime, performance, and ultimately the support that we offer, so that we're able to support customers' websites, applications, and databases based on their specific requirements. So we tailor cloud solutions to cater for specific customer requirements by first fully understanding what their needs are, then building a bespoke solution to cater for those needs. And these solutions can be hosted on our enterprise VMware cloud, a private cloud infrastructure, or we even offer co-location facilities as well. And then we also tailor management support contracts according to how much support that customer needs specifically. So something that's been key, and Phil kind of touched on it earlier in his talk. During COVID-19, there's been a need for businesses now to adapt and work remotely. So we as a company have seen a huge spike in the need for hosted desktop solutions, such as VDI and desktop as a service. So what this allows is these kind of solutions, they allow for many organizations, whether they're large or small, to seamlessly work remotely and have access to everything they need for their day-to-day job, just as though they're working from the office. And personally, I feel that this is going to be a huge shift as we transition to what's going to be the new norm, which is ultimately going to see people working remotely for the foreseeable future. Obviously, there are going to be some changes where some organizations are going to start phasing an approach to go back into the office, like we've done very recently. But there's going to be a lot of businesses out there that still need to be working remotely and going to be relying on our services. So I guess if you guys have got kind of any questions or want any further information around our kind of cloud hosting and services that we offer, and how we could potentially help your business, then please feel free to join the Hive networking room, where my colleague Oliver Ward will be able to chat with you and answer any questions that you may have. And we also have my colleague Lucy Sadler, who'll be in the general networking area to also answer any questions. But I hope you all have a great evening and really enjoy the event, and hopefully we'll catch up with you guys soon.